Started. Welcome to our virtual press conference here this morning. The proceedings here are going to be recorded and be made available. We hope folks will be able to then re-social that for further publicity for this great opportunity for underserved youth here in our region. I'd like to introduce Commissioner Bowman, who's going to then introduce our participants, who will tell you about some of the opportunities available here for youth this summer.
All right, sounds good. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Stephanie Bowman. I'm a commissioner with the Port of Seattle. Thank you so much for making the time to join us today. With me today are Michelle Merriweather, the president and CEO of the Urban League of Seattle-King County. We also have Laisha Johnson from Seattle Goodwill and Jeanette Dorner from the Mid-Sound Fisheries. We're here today to announce a little bit of bright news in what has clearly been some dark days for our region and our state. Today, the Port of Seattle is announcing what we are calling the Opportunity Initiative, which is a very focused effort to provide jobs for over 200 youth ages 16 to 24 in our region through a partnership with local nonprofits. In some ways, this might seem counterintuitive, as our region has record high unemployment and every company and government agency are making extraordinary cuts to their budget. But when you think about it, youth are probably the victims of the coronavirus that are the silent victims. In some ways, they've been, in my opinion, hit the hardest. In many cases, their schools have been canceled. We all know the challenges that they've had with online learning and the inequities that have come forward because of that. Youth employment in our region for those 16 to 24 hit a record 25% in May. We have, on the other hand, in the port industries, hundreds of jobs, great careers available for youth, whether it's in fishing, in aviation, or in maritime cargo. This is not the first time the Port of Seattle has doubled down on trying to provide jobs for youth. We have what I believe is the best internship program in the state of Washington for any government agency. And over the last 5 years, we provided jobs for over 500 youth. But we recognize that in the time of the coronavirus, our internship program can only go so far because of the online requirements. And so we decided to reach out to local nonprofits, use their expertise in serving the underserved youth in our communities, those that need it most, and they can provide the jobs for the youth through funding from the Port of Seattle. The jobs that are going to be provided are from some great long-standing nonprofits, of which you'll hear from today. I want to turn it over first to Michelle Merriweather to talk about the opportunity of the Urban League. Then we're going to hear from Goodwill, Mid-Sound Fisheries, and at the end, we'll come back and answer any questions you might have. So with that, Michelle, it's up to you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bowman. The Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle is so excited to partner with the Port of Seattle, a new Seattle Central College and others to and Lehigh to make this important investment into the lives of young Black, Indigenous, and other youth of color to increase their awareness and interest in the trades. Our young people, as you all know, and Commissioner Bowman stated, have been disproportionately impacted by the economic shutdown due to COVID-19 and overwhelmingly increased in that disproportion are youth of color. This unique opportunity couldn't come soon enough. It provides us the ability to make the necessary investment in the lives of our young people who have far too often been discounted, disconnected, and neglected by systems. With this investment, we're able to utilize our proven trading model through our Career Bridge initiative and partner that with our already ongoing work with Priority Hire connections and partnerships to potentially introduce 40 plus young people that we're going to serve in our program throughout the summer into trades, and likely at the end of the summer, enroll them into pre-apprenticeship programs if they are not going back to high school or college. And that in itself provides an opportunity to not only provide them with fish, but teach them how to fish, as the saying goes. We're teaching them and providing them a career pathway that is so necessarily needed today. Our program participants will also be offered the opportunity to obtain flaggers and OSHA 10 certification. So those will go with them wherever they go. And upon their 21-day completion, we will offer them enrollment into our Priority Hire program, which will take them one step further towards becoming a permanent part of the trades. And in Priority Hire, we're able to offer them referrals, assistance, and enrollment into apprenticeship programs like ANU and Seattle Central College and other wraparound services to remove all barriers in their entry into this great career. These additional supports will add to and enhance their learned skill set, making them more marketable and gaining employment in the trades. We're so grateful and would like to thank the Port, Commissioner Bowman, and all of the other commissioners for this important investment into the lives of our young people. And thank you for your continued partnership.
Thanks, Michelle. And I think now we're going to turn over to LaAsia.
Yes, hi. So I definitely can piggyback on everything that Michelle said. We definitely want to create that investment within our youth because, our youth are the future, like number one fact when it comes to our programs. We have two pathway programs with youth that we are currently working with. We have our Youth Maritime program, which is the program I work with, which is a partnership, between Seattle Goodwill and Youth Maritime Collaborative to bring youth employers who work with youth that are trying to get youth into the maritime industry, as well as our Youth Aerospace program, which is a collaboration between Boeing, Seattle Goodwill, and JP Morgan Chase, as well as Everett Community College and Renton Technical College. And we chose these pathways because we understand that the youth that we work with a lot of at-risk youth, low-income youth, youth of color, are these communities that we work with, they don't really know much about these pathways, and they haven't been given these opportunities to explore the pathways, to really be engaged and bring in their own creativity to what they can bring into the industries within maritime and aerospace. I like to think about, when I think about my youth, we have a lot of youth that are really just existing within their communities and not really living in their communities. And so within our programs, we give them the opportunity to fully see what's around them. I always come in like you live in a port city, we're right here on the water, and many of them don't really know what maritime is. And so our program gives them just a whole new world of opportunities that they never thought that they would come in contact with, could explore, and could have that hands-on feel within an industry where with people that they trust. Our main thing is that we build relationships with our students so that they trust us enough to open up this whole new world of opportunities for them. And I apologize. I had a youth that was coming to speak, and he definitely would have said that, in the beginning, he really didn't know much, but, just being able to be in an environment where he can be himself and feel safe enough to go and learn about what is out there within maritime or aerospace. So I definitely am appreciative. I am grateful for the port to allow us to have this opportunity to work with over 60 youth and provide them with this experience once again, as well as new internships and opportunities and working with our partners to be able to keep the wheel going and communicating with our youth and experiencing with our youth, and even learning from our youth. I learned so much from our youth as they're learning from us and our partners, that it just amazes me every day, the creativity that they come up with. So I'm very appreciative and very happy that we can keep this going, and excited and very anxious to see how this COVID summer is going to go. Um, but definitely excited. And I know our youth are excited. I have good news to tell them, that a lot of that is thanks to the port.
All right. Thank you, Leasia. Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
You've been a great partner over the years. Now I'd like to turn it over to Jeanette Dorner from Midsound Fisheries.
Hi, thank you, Commissioner Bowman. And I just want to echo what Michelle and Leasia have said, how grateful we are for this opportunity to partner with the Port of Seattle. And this is such a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to expand the work that we were doing and to support the youth of our community. Midsound Fisheries Enhancement Group, we work with people in the community to restore the health of our rivers and streams to help recover declining salmon populations. And, in terms of thinking about our underserved members of the community and people of color, both indigenous communities and Black, and restoring the health of our streams and our rivers is not just about taking care of the salmon, it's also restoring the environmental health of the communities, and having healthy green spaces and plentiful trees and clean water is just as important to people as it is to salmon. And one of the things, though, is that in our field of doing environmental restoration, it's not a very diverse workforce. And so we have been looking for ways to help work with youth from these underserved communities and to give them training opportunities to learn more about what it takes to do environmental restoration, and give them the training and the skills that they can go on to be the next generation of environmental restoration professionals. So we have a partnership right now with the City of Auburn, their Parks Department, where we are working to restore the native trees and shrubs along the Green River in Auburn on their park properties. And so we really could use some help this summer to take care of all the new native trees and shrubs that were planted this last winter, and also to prepare additional sites for planting this fall. And we know, just like when you plant a garden, you don't plant the garden and then walk away and then come back at the end of the season to harvest all your wonderful vegetables. And it's the same thing with native plant restoration. You plant the plants, but then you have to take care of them to make sure that they survive and thrive and can establish themselves. And so having youth that can work with us this summer to help take care of those plants and to make sure that they're successful will be really valuable to our efforts, as well as this great opportunity to provide training and support for our youth in the community. So just really grateful to the Port for this partnership.
Great. Thanks, Jeanette. You've got a terrific program. So, we really wanted to partner with Midsound Fisheries because of the outdoor opportunities specifically that you provide. And it really adds on to what the Port's been doing for many years in terms of our environmental restoration project. So thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I'd like to turn it over and ask if there's any questions. But before I do, I just wanted to make a couple final remarks and say that it's really my hope that this opportunity initiative is something that will inspire others, other corporations, other government agencies to think about youth and not exclude them from the COVID recovery efforts. Again, I feel like they've been the silent victims in all of this, and they haven't had really anybody to speak up and think about what is their future going to be. We need them, and I know that more than at any other time, we particularly need youth of color to be able to see hope and opportunity in our communities. And so my hope is that others will step forward. If there are other agencies or corporations that need some help in how to put together a program like this, please reach out to the Port of Seattle. We have a lot of expertise. And with that, I'll turn it over to any questions we might have. Peter?
With that, we're happy to take any questions. And of course, if you think of something afterward, we're more than happy to do that in any follow-up. And Mary Jean, if you see anyone that is looking to ask a question, feel free to unmute them.
Peter, I don't need to unmute people, so they can either come through the meeting chat or just start talking.
Okay, great.
Carolyn Adolph from KUOW. As the saying, she was interested in how this COVID summer was going to go. Can you talk a little bit about the opportunities and how young people who participate will find themselves safe?
Definitely. So we have been working diligently to make sure that we follow safety procedures and make sure that we've alternated just how we operate in our building, as well as how we travel with our youth. So all of our youth will have protective equipment, masks, we have sanitizing and disinfectants, and we have figured our classrooms to be able to have that social distancing that's 6 feet apart. We've adjusted our enrollment numbers a bit so that when we meet, we can meet at a safe capacity. And so we definitely are following social distancing guidelines and every safety measure and precautions that we have. We have a whole team that has been dedicated these past couple months to making sure that our youth are priority when it comes to coming to even our states, and also when we are making also utilize our and media to be able to do this.
And I'm going to add, Carolyn, I'm going to add on to that question because it's a good one. And just in terms of what the Port of Seattle has done with our internship program as well. As you might remember, in a normal year, we started 5 years ago with an expanded internship program, and our amazing internship coordinator, Amber Wilson, recognized very quickly that we could not bring in 100 youth into the port offices. Our offices, although we are essential workers, the port main offices have been closed. And so we went to an online format for our internship program. And that was one of the things we thought about with the Opportunity Initiative. How can we partner with nonprofits that are taking the safety measures that LaAsia just outlined, making sure, because we recognize that that's the first question that parents are going to ask, right? They want to make sure that if their kids are having a summer job, that they're going to be safe while they're doing it. So it was one of the things we looked closely at. And we feel like all of our nonprofit partners have done an exceptional job of taking that into consideration.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Just a supplemental question. It's funny. It's just 10 years ago that I involved my teenager in tree planting to get him through the Great Recession that we thought was so large. But I'm wondering, can you give me some real jobs that people who are involved in these programs can be training for that can lead to careers at the Port of Seattle?
Sure. LaAsia, do you want to talk a little bit about the maritime youth?
Yeah, so some of the jobs that a lot of our students have been real interested in, of course, the onshore jobs. We are in our 3rd year, and, we've come to realize, the youth of color in our community, we have, just some, I want to say, some fears when it comes to, this new water pathway, in a sense of how I would say that. We actually opted to give our students, some of our students who, had that fear of water, swim lessons, to be able to just engage them more on thinking about offshore or away pathways within maritime. But we've definitely been we've been partnered with the Virginia 5 to give them a whole experience of operating a ship, being a deckhand, or in the wheelhouse, in the engine room. Our students are interested. We have a lot of students interested in the engineering of ship operations as well as port side jobs. And so it is, I will say it is a slow process in getting the student just out there and fully willing to participate in some of the activities, but it is happening and the students are becoming more open to all the pathways. And we want them to understand just how many pathways they can go into within maritime. We have students interested in art and engineering and electrical and construction, and just helping them find ways like how that can lead to a maritime position with the things that you like to do. So I hope that answers your question. Sorry, my microphone was kind of like in and out, so I got parts and bits of the question. I hope I answered it.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions while we're all here? Don't be shy.
I think, Peter, everybody's shocked that there's actually a little bit of good news right now instead of bleak news. So
That might be the case.
I know it's hard to recognize the sun when things have been so dark. Well, be that as it may, I just want to thank everybody, but especially our nonprofit partners. We put this program together in about 6 weeks. It came together very, very quickly as an outcropping of the 5 commissioners at the Port of Seattle sitting down and thinking about economic recovery and what the port's role might be. And with that, we decided to continue, as I think many of you might know, with our extraordinary capital improvement program. Most of that is construction work continues at the airport, $1.5 billion of construction. And continuing those projects means continuing jobs in the construction trade and all of the industries related to that. And then we thought about what can we do to jumpstart tourism again. And that's another initiative we'll be talking about in a couple of weeks as we move into hopefully extended phase 2 in King County. But as we looked at, again, trying to find jobs for those most needing in our community, it was really the youth that we decided to focus on. And so we couldn't have done this on our own at the Port of Seattle. It was only possible because of the relationships that we have with these nonprofits. And so I really just want to thank them. They're the ones that are going to be doing the hard work, but we are happy to be able to provide the funding for you to do that. And we look forward to a great summer for these youth. And I, again, encourage others to look to us and look to our nonprofit partners if you're willing to put a little bit of money into employing youth this summer. So with that, thank you.
All right, great. Thank you everyone for participating, and members of the media, please feel free to get in touch if you have any follow-up questions and want to reach out to any of the participants. Thank you for covering us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Thanks.